This is the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster. So let's go and see what it's like. Ooh, it sounds like a fart in a paper cup, doesn't it? Is this going to be one of these weird twins that you have to rev high? Putting it in sport mode has transformed the character of this bike. Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. We're here at Guildford Harley, which can mean only one thing. We've got this, the brand new 2022 Harley Nightster. So, what do you think? My first reaction is, it sort of looks similar to the Sportster, I think. But apparently it's not. I don't understand Harley models and things, but I just like riding them. So let's go and do it. This is a 975cc V-twin Revolution Max engine. Oh, that's not good. What have I not done? Is it because it's in gear? Let's try that. Okay, so you can't start it in gear even if you pull the clutch in. That's the first lesson. Sounds quite tinny. What's the engine like? Doesn't sound like it's got much, to be honest, but you know, let's see. Whew, this feels like a little toy. It's doing everything that a Harley doesn't. In fact, it's doing nothing that a Harley usually does for me so far. There's no soul. There's nothing from it so far. I think you're going to have to wind the engine up on this, weirdly, for a twin. Is this going to be one of these weird twins that you have to rev high to get any sort of performance out of it? Do you remember that Honda NT1100? That was similar. It just didn't seem to do anything until you got it going. It feels like it's a putt-putt machine. It just feels like it's putt-putt-putting along here. But it's not giving me any soul, any character like the normal Harleys do. Okay, so dial-wise, you know, it's got the analog dial there, and then small little digital bit here. So there's a gear selector there, nice big fuel gauge. It's got the your range on there, your mileometer. It's also showing what mode I'm in. This bike's got 3 different modes. It's got rain, road and sport, I believe. So at the moment I'm in road. Should have changed down there. No, it's coping with third gear, no problem. 20 mile an hour. It's just chugging along there. No protesting from the engine. That's all good. There's not really much drive if you needed it though. Mind you, we are doing 30 mile an hour in third gear. Whack that down into second. Yeah, lots more there. So you could probably just hold it in second if you're trundling along in the towns and villages. I like how they're putting the indicator, the conventional style, all over on the left, both left and right, over on the left hand bar. Remember with Harleys, traditionally your left is on the left, your right is on the right. I just couldn't get used to that. Maybe that's just me though. So I've just plotted in a random round trip route with Kalimoto. That's easy for you to say. You know, it's got a little bit of punch there when you get the revs up, but it would definitely need an aftermarket can on it. It really sounds quite tinny. The Sportster S did as well though, didn't it? I think Harley, like a lot of manufacturers, I think they realised that we're just going to put aftermarket cans on. So I suppose they don't do too much in terms of aesthetics and like noise porn for your exhaust, because they know you'll just change it. It's an easy bike to ride so far, you know. It's not setting the world on fire to the same extent. It's not a handful, you know. It's easy to ride through the town there. It does feel like it's quite a thin tank for me, you know. I feel like I have to make a conscious effort to turn my knees in there and grab hold of the tank. But then, is this one of those bikes where you are going to grab the tank with your knees, or is this more of a sit back and sort of enjoy the ride type bike? I'm not sure. I think I'm going to have to get this out onto some nationals. Okay then, we're in a 50 at least, so that's something. The engine definitely has a bit more character as you work your way up through the revs. Now this 975 V-twin Revolution Max engine, it's pumping out around about, I think it's 80 brake horse, or is it 90 brake horse? Can't remember, 80 or 90 brake horse, and it's chucking out about 90 Newton meters of torque, and that's at around about 7,500 revs apparently, which is fairly revvy for a twin. It does sound like this is going to be the type of twin that you're going to have to get the revs up to enjoy. Right, mode. Okay, let's whack it in sport mode. Oh wow, straight away sport feels, oh wow, head and shoulders different. Let me whack that back in road just to make sure. Yeah, road has much more of a lag on the throttle compared to sport. So we put it in rain. What's rain like? Oh god. Ooh, there's a real delay on the throttle. Oh, that's horrible. Why? Don't ever put it in rain for sure. Oh, sport is much better. The bike comes alive. Wow, the difference is incredible. Right, let's see, because this bike just did me back. There we go. This bike just did nothing for me there in road mode. I was just thinking, God, this is a wet lettuce. Putting it in sport mode has transformed the character of this bike. It feels like it wants to go now. It feels like it's awake and it wants to play. Whereas before, in just road mode, I just had nothing. Still doesn't feel like a Harley to me. It still feels quite soulless. Okay, it's got a little bit of a pick. It's nothing outrageous. Having said that, I am still only doing about 3,500 revs, so I'm nowhere near the maximum sort of power output, which is at 7.5. In fact, let's try seconding. It is a Nationals. Happy days. Nationals! Yeah, okay, so that was just off 7,000, and it is definitely coming alive a bit more there. Okay, yeah, you get these revs up. I mean, I'm doing the national speed now. So that's quite an exciting feeling once you get the revs up. Once you get the revs up, certainly north of 6,000, it's a different bike. It starts to come alive there. Feels a little bit, not skitty, but I think that's the best way of describing it. Harleys for me have always felt really planted on the ground, probably because the way they sit the same as the Sun. This one, once you get those revs up, it does start to feel quite light. I think its weight is something like 230 kilograms, something like that. So by Harley standards, this thing's anorexic. Do you know what? It actually corners fairly well. Doesn't feel bad at all. Oh, you are scraping the pegs though. Into a 30. What are your brakes like? It's only a single caliper at the front, obviously single caliper at the rear. It'll do the job, as with most single caliper bikes. I always think you can feel that through the bars for sure. There's just that slight sort of almost like torsion you feel come through the bars. They'll stop you, but I don't get why. I know it's purely aesthetics, isn't it? I want dual calipers on my bikes, Nationals! Again, to get the most out of this engine, even in second gear, once to get up north of 7,000 revs, I was already creeping north of there. So usable power for the road, not really, certainly legally, and I'll go as far as to say I think most people would never exploit this engine. Most people would never ride it up there at that rev range. It's quite a skitty feeling, and I think most people would probably be doing that speed in third or fourth gear, where you're going to be much lower revs and nowhere near the same sort of power delivery, which is a shame because it's nice. It's quite a fruity engine with high revs. but low revs, I mean, it does it, but it sounds like a fart in a paper cup, doesn't it? I mean, it just sounds like a diarrhea fart. Nah, not doing it for me. Definitely need a new can on it. What about comfort? Funny you should say that. Comfort wise, you know, it feels like quite a comfortable seat. The pegs are mid-level, sort of standard place for your foot pegs to be. They're not out the front. I'm sure you probably could get a kit for it. The gearbox does feel very small, very tight and small. Normally I find with Harleys it's quite mechanical, it's good clunk to get through. This doesn't feel like that at all. Back brake feels fine to operate, no problems certainly coming through towns there. It's a weird upper body position. It's another one of those bikes where I feel I'm sort of stretching forward to get the bars. Because of that, when I sit back in the seat, I'm pulling back on the bars a lot. So I do feel it, you know, across the sort of ridge of my palm there and in my fingers. Probably just need to engage your core more. Need to do more yoga. There's no screen, so you're going to get wind buffeting, but you know, I think if you're worried about wind buffeting, you wouldn't buy a bike like this, would you? Mirrors, these are the standard mirrors. Really good vision behind, actually. Quite impressed with them. All the controls feel nice and easy to use. You know, the clutch has got a nice feel to it. It's not too firm, not too soft. The front brake, again, yeah, it's a bit spongy because of the single caliper, but it'll do the job. All the controls themselves, well, over on the right here, got your ignition, kill switch, hazards, got traction control and your mode button, which are all fairly easy to operate with your right thumb or just reach across with your left hand. Yeah, normally if you come down here with a bike with a nice exhaust, it reverberates off all these stone walls, but listen to this. Nothing. Needs a new can. And over on your left hand side here you have the cycle button to go through the bottom digital display. You've got your rev range on there. In fact, let's go through it so you can see. You've got your rev range, you've got your odometer, you've got your trip. In fact, there's 2 trips on it. You've got your tank range, time, and that's us back to revs. Right, if you're looking at me on this camera, you might be noticing this and thinking, what's this all about? Got more cameras than Oxford Street. This here is the TeapotOne XV1. I've done the review of the DC one, and I've done most of my filming for the XV1 now as well. I just wanted to bring it out today. I'm trying the 60 frames per second, so I just want to see what the battery life is like. So keep your eye out for that vid when it comes out. TeapotOne XV1. Cool, it's taking us straight on. This is a nice little road, this, out of Midhurst. Sorry, this isn't Midhurst, where's this? Petsworth? I don't know. Somewhere on the 272. Oh, there they are, folks, there they are. Can you see them? What'd you say? Let me hear you. That's right. Nationals! Oh, this is alright, isn't it? Look. L plates, learner plates on a Range Rover. They got a different life out here, folks. Different world out here. I feel like I'm sat on a lawnmower. That's not a good feeling, is it? Ooh, scraping away there. You could hear it. Scraping the foot pegs. So it's a little bit bumpier down here, and as we pick the speed up, definitely feels a bit soft in the rear for me, but then, you know, as we all know, I'm 6'3", 20 stone. You can adjust the rear shock, but it's not like the Sportster S, which just had that nice handy knob that you could turn. This one you actually need proper spanners. Yeah, you definitely feel like you need to work this bike. Right there. pheasant. Now this is where the bike is coming alive. It actually feels like it's got some character now. Oh, that front brake feels quite spongy, which is weird. You have to ride it quite hard to get any sort of character out of the engine, but then the brakes, to me, that single caliper feels like it's working quite hard on this bumpy road at speed. Why wouldn't you just have twin brake discs? Now you might be thinking, why do you hug the inside line so much on those left-handers? Like normally you'd sit out quite far on the right, wouldn't you? But they're quite tight left and bends, and this is really only a single carriageway. So I'm expecting vehicles to be in the middle of the road as they come round that corner, but also maybe like farm traffic, agricultural traffic. So I want to be far over, because if I'm over in the middle of the road and they come round that corner, I've had it. Whereas if I'm hugging like along here, I'm hugging this line on left-handers, it's okay on the right, but on left-handers I'm giving myself as much space as possible for oncoming traffic. Nationals! Okay, so that was me just short of 8,000 revs. There is a nice whoosh of power, but then it just drops off. So I would say maximum playtime on this, 6 to 7,500 revs. That's me sitting at 6,000-ish now, third gear. That's actually quite a nice responsive place to be. You know, it's still got some oomph there if you need it. You're sitting at national speeds. Change up to fourth, the revs drop to about sort of 4,500, 5,000. There's still some play there, some power available. The handling wise, yeah, it handles okay, handles fine in the bends. You could probably tell, folks, that it's not tickling my danglies at all. I think I really do prefer the old sort of air-cooled thumping Harley engine. They've just got so much more character. The Fat Boy's still my favourite out the lot. Nationals! I think Nightster is actually a very apt name for this bike, because it's night and day depending on how you work this engine. If you batter up the box, right, if you weak up the box quickly and keeping the revs low like you would traditionally on a twin engine, oh Jesus, that suspension's hard, then you really don't get anywhere near the performance that this engine can give you. You have to ride it again a lot like an inline 4, get the revs up, and then, you know, it's quite a fruity little engine. But I'd have thought most Harley riders, they're not gonna ride a bike like that. That's not how I'd have thought most Harley riders will ride. You know, they want a bike that's got the soul, that's got that low down grunt, and this just doesn't. This suspension, you know, the dual shocks there, you can only adjust excuse me, the dual shocks in the rear, you can only adjust the preload on them, and then the forks, you can't adjust anything on the front forks. But price wise, what are we looking at? Well, this is a 13,270 odd quid, I think. This very one here I'm sat on, the black one. Ooh, God. If you want a pillion seat, that's more. If you want pegs to go with the pillion seat, ooh. Whee. Now, you see what I was saying earlier about hugging the inside lane? That's why. Because if you'd been sat right out there... But anyway, 13,277. Now, to me that's a weird price range, because perversely, in this day and age, That's actually not too bad, but it's still 13,200, which is a lot of money for effectively not much of a bike, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, it's very sort of basic in what you're getting. Oh, Jesus. What's its competition? It would be something like, I suppose, the Triumph Bobber, Indian Scout, well, no, not Diavel. The Ducati Diavel's got a load more than this, and it's a lot more money. That's 18, 19 odd grand. I think this is supposed to be like an entry-level Harley, just to get people into the Harley brand. But, you know, in my limited experience now, having ridden a few different Harleys, this is nothing like a Harley. Nothing like a Harley. So would you want this to be your introduction to the brand for people when it's, you know, it's nothing like what Harleys offer, really? I mean, it even rides differently to the Sportster. I know the Sportster's a much bigger.
Out you go, I'm filming. Say hello to YouTube. This is Pepper. Right, let me do some work. Go on. Sorry about that. The battery on the Helmet GoPro went, however, I had to show you this. Look what was round the corner waiting. I know, a tree. A tree. What a day this was. First a tractor, now a tree. Couldn't just leave it, so I had to do something about it.
Can we move this at all?
First part, nice and easy. The next bit, the old policeman hat coming back in there, look. And to any of you out there that said that looked easy,
yeah, it's if they could just do something with the engine and bring that power delivery down to say 5,000-6,000 revs rather than being up there at 7.5 odd, just bring it down 1,000 or 2, and it would actually become a very, very fun, usable road bike then. If you want to check out some more Harley reviews I've done, smash that playlist up there. And folks, keep on doing what you're doing. Get on out there whenever you can. Look after those that you love. But most importantly, that's right, most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!